After a few days off, the Saints are back at work and preparing for the Indianapolis Colts. Meanwhile, they continue to shuffle things around with their roster, including a kicker and wide receiver. We won't just dance around these topics. We'll go at them full bore with Larry Holder up next. Welcome to the Black and Gold Today, sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. I'm your happy host, Jim Derry. Well, the midway point of the 2015 season is right around the corner, and the Saints find themselves in a situation that isn't any less dire than it was a few weeks ago with an 0-3 start. Despite going 2-1 the past 3 weeks, if they're to get any traction and make something of this season, they're going to have to find a way to get back to 500 with wins at Indianapolis this week and at home against the Giants in Week 8. Here to discuss how and if this is possible, the Saints columnist Larry Holder. And well, I'm going to let you answer the tough questions in the Pick 6 segment today.
Isn't that always what it is?
Oh, absolutely.
I get all the toughies, and I just knock them out the park. Whether I'm right or wrong, I sound definitive.
Well, there's no question
That's
about
all
that.
that matters, right?
We're having Duncan bunt.
That's probably the best.
All right,
I'm sure.
Right to it. Number one, how much confidence do you think the Saints gained in defeating Atlanta? And they were solid in just about every phase of the game. What do you expect this week?
Look, I do think this is a building block. There's no question about it. You beat a rival team. You beat a team that's hot. You start to get hot at home. I think that breeds confidence. And what I really liked most specifically is that we've seen for so many times the Saints defense give away a lead, or they're just kind of hanging on and they just cannot make a final play. I felt like the Saints defense closed Atlanta. You had Cam Jordan explode, 3 sacks in the final quarter. Kikaha got a sack, and they were able to close out Atlanta, which is something you don't see very often from the Saints defense.
Never felt like they were going to lose that game.
No, and it's because the previous weeks you never felt like they were going to win it. So I think feeling that way, getting some offense, defense, lackluster special teams, which you alluded to already in the show, but I think this does give them confidence going into Indianapolis for sure.
Okay, number two, you wrote about in your film study. I want to talk about Benjamin Watson. He had a breakthrough game. Is it something that he can maintain, and will Drew continue to look his way?
I think Drew's going to continue to look his way. Now, will this be maintained? I don't know. I think Atlanta has the same problems covering tight ends that the Saints do, so he was able to get wide open. It's something that the Saints look to exploit. Now, you look at other teams, I think they're able to take away tight ends. So I think this might be just a 1-week thing. Will they try to get Watson more involved? Yes, but I don't see him having career days like this. I think they're going to have to go back to kind of their bread and butter in the wide receiving core. Snead, Cooks, get Spiller involved, and they got to get the running game involved because that's 31st in the NFL right now.
Yeah, well, the Colts defense hasn't exactly been stellar. We'll get to that in a minute. Number three, continuing on the thing we talked about here, the Saints made some moves this week, and one of them was to sign receiver TJ Graham. Will this have any impact on the team, and could this be a sign maybe that Marcus Colston may be out for quite a while, or maybe doesn't even come back?
I think it's certainly more along the lines of Colston being injured, and people will say, well, look, the Saints just signed Joe Morgan back to the team. Well, he only played 1 or 2 snaps. He's not someone who's going to be a difference maker. Now, TJ Graham, when you're signing a guy this late in the season, when you're a month, 6 weeks into the season, it's not like you're expecting him to come in and be some difference maker. So he's basically probably the best of the warm bodies that are out there, and they needed to fill someone in. But it's more telling that Colston might not be on the mend as quickly. And who knows? He's already had a rough enough season. If that shoulder's really banged up, do they pull the plug on him? I think they want to try to make every opportunity not to do that, but it's certainly a possibility.
57 catches, 700 and some odd yards in the career of TJ Graham. Number four, more on the signing front. Zach Hocker out, Kai Forbath in. I know what your answer is, but good move?
Any move has to be a good move. I mean, even if Zach Hocker was on the team, just take away his kicking shoe. Do not let him ever on the field again. Now, I wrote about how it's the Saints are the Bermuda Triangle of kickers, and now we've created the triangle of Kai Forbath, Zach Hocker, Dustin Hopkins. Everyone's battled each other, and of course, the Saints ultimately made the wrong move by not keeping Dustin Hopkins. So now they're going for the guy that Hopkins replaced with Kai Forbath. He's got to be better than Hocker. I think Hocker was shot confidence was shot. If they didn't beat the Cowboys, he would have been gone already. So you get one public warning from Sean Payton. He got it, screwed up twice again. He's out, and now we're back to maybe Olindo Mare might be coming back, or
Chiplo Miller.
Well, that's in the previous Payton time machine, but maybe like a Taylor Melhoff. Remember that
Melhoff.
stellar draft pick? Now that did not pan out either.
Wow. And you're pulling out all the stops today. Number 5, the offensive line maybe had its best game last week against Atlanta. And should we expect more from Mark Ingram? Although he didn't do a ton, he scored twice, didn't have a lot of yards. But this week against a team that has a suspect run defense, a suspect defense in general, but in the Colts, what do you think on that front?
Now, I know the Colts, they actually have some good young defenders up front, which could hurt the Saints. Now, if Teron Armstead comes back, it's a different ballgame. You can't have Tony Hills playing. That's just like only having 4 offensive linemen. He was not very good. So if you're the Saints, you're hoping Armstead's back. Jari Evans back for a week. I think that will help solidify the offensive line. And you would love to see Mark Ingram get more involved. Look, he's actually 11th overall in the NFL in total yards per scrimmage. He's just not running the football particularly that well. So they need to have him working on all cylinders, run game, pass game, and, of course, picking up blitzes that they're probably going to send at Drew Brees.
They seem to almost abandon it at times, though. They didn't. I mean, this week they could have run the ball a lot more, I thought. And, I mean, as effective as Drew was, I thought that we're going to see more of Ingram this
I know
week.
a lot of times, look, Ingram had a lot of snaps. Actually, C.J. Spiller had the fewest of the running backs. So, but they use him more of an every down back than anyone else, just because they feel confident in all 3 of the phases. Not as much so with Kyrie, and not as much so with Spiller.
Conversely, looking at the Colts running game, Frank Gore had a nice first half against the Patriots last week before they seemed to just abandon the running game, and a lot of critics getting on him about that. And considering the inconsistencies the Saints have had this year against the run, do you expect the Colts will try to pick it up a little bit and maybe Gore's going to get it a few more times?
I would think so. Just certainly to maybe protect Andrew Luck a little bit. Don't have him get banged up as much since he's coming off an injury. But look, the Saints' run defense, not very good either. Look, the whole defense of numbers total, still not very good. They're last in the NFL. But the run defense, look, I think the Saints are fortunate that it wasn't a close game because Devontae Freeman could run wild. Frank Gore's obviously a different running back, and yet he's still averaging 4 yards a carry, so he's still a legitimate threat. And they're so used to playing a Frank Gore, they played him for a million years. Yeah. They know what he can still bring even at the twilight of his career.
What is he, like 50?
He might be about 70, but he could still run over some guys the Saints might have.
Well, his knees work. Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us, and we'll bring you back on Friday. We'll give you a chance to redeem yourself.
I'm never going to get a pick right. I'm convinced.
Well, then Saints fans want you to pick against them. We'll be right back with Wednesday's Extra Point.
What's one of the nicest things that comes with your new Cadillac from Cadillac of New Orleans? 0% interest.
Get 0% interest on all new Cadillacs, now at Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude, on Lime Street in Rye in Metairie.
For today's Extra Point, we take a look at the all-time series between the Saints and Colts. And Indianapolis represents just 9 teams the boys in black and gold have a winning record against. They've been victorious in 6 of 11 meetings between the two. And recent history has been very kind in the Saints' favor as they've won 6 of the past 8 matchups, past 8 regular season matchups, that is, and they took 5 in a row between 1986 to 2001. In the last meeting between them, it marked the largest win in team history, a 62-7 rout in the Superdome on Sunday Night Football on October 23, 2011. The time before that, however, was just a bit more special, I think. Even though it doesn't count in the series record, that's right, I'm talking about the 31-17 win in Super Bowl 46 on February the 7th, 2010. Well, that just about does it for today. We'll be back on Thursday and go in depth about how Coach Sean Payton feels about this week and what's going on out on Airline Drive. Don't forget to vote in today's poll. We'll see you Thursday. Go Cubs.